Absolutely. Here's a detailed expansion of that eerie, mysterious single scene, pushed into a fully immersive, atmospheric story with vivid descriptions, tension, and emotional undertones, spanning over 1,500 words. The glitch in the frame. The video started with a flicker, a burst of static that scrambled the screen for a brief moment. Neon teals and burnt siennas clashed violently against each other before the image gradually came into focus, settling like the eye of a storm on a dimly lit room. The air seemed thick, heavy with an unspoken weight. The screen's edges trembled, as if the very frame holding this scene was struggling to maintain coherence. Inside the frame, a single bare bulb hung from the ceiling by a thin wire, swaying gently despite the absence of any breeze. Its light was weak, casting long, trembling shadows that crept along cracked walls and a worn wooden floor scarred with years of neglect. Dust motes floated lazily, illuminated only in the thin beam, and the silence felt dense, almost suffocating. At the room's center sat a figure. Tall and still, as if carved from stone. The figure wore a mask, an unsettlingly perfect white, featureless except for faint indentations where eyes and mouth should have been. It was a face without expression, a void staring back into the camera's lens with eerie calm. The mask's smooth surface reflected the weak bulb's glow, gleaming faintly, but revealing no emotion, no hint of the person beneath. The camera trembled slightly, handheld and unsteady, as if the person filming was nervous or uncertain. Slowly, the figure's head tilted to the left, then to the right, deliberate and slow, as though it were listening for something beyond the human range. The room seemed to grow colder as this motion repeated, and the only sound was a low, persistent static hum, like the faint buzz of an old radio tuned between stations, desperate for a signal. The silence stretched and pulled at the edges of the viewer's nerves. There was no explanation, no context. Only this frozen, enigmatic figure in a room forgotten by time. Then, without warning, the figure raised one gloved hand, slender, mechanical almost, and tapped its own shoulder once. The movement was precise, deliberate, as if signaling something unseen. The low hum seemed to respond, growing louder, stronger, transforming into a rhythmic pulse, thump, thump, thump. With every tap, the pulse quickened, filling the space with a strange, electric tension. The shadows warped and twisted on the walls, flickering like a heartbeat. The camera drew closer, shaky and hesitant, focusing on the hand that repeated the taps, feeling the vibrations grow beneath the mosque's blank facade. The light above flickered, trembling in sync with the pulse. Suddenly, the bulb burst into a shower of sparks, exploding with a crack that shattered the silence like glass. Darkness swallowed the room whole. The video ended. Expanding the scene. The video had no title, no description, no context. It was just there, appearing in some forgotten corner of the internet, like a glitch in the digital fabric of reality. People who stumbled upon it described a strange compulsion to watch it again, as if the blank mask was silently whispering secrets that no one could quite understand. What happened before the camera turned on? Long before the camera captured the masked figure in that room, a series of events had led to this moment, though no one watching the video knew the story. The room had a history, as old and layered as the peeling paint on the walls. Once, it was a place full of life, laughter, and light. Decades ago, it had been a workshop, where a solitary inventor labored on strange machines, devices meant to communicate beyond human senses, to tap into frequencies no one else could hear. The bulb that hung from the ceiling was once bright and steady, illuminating sketches and blueprints spread across a cluttered table. But time and tragedy turned the workshop into a mausoleum of silence. The inventor disappeared one stormy night, leaving behind nothing but a single, cryptic note scrawled with trembling hands, "They are listening." Since then, the workshop was abandoned, falling into ruin, swallowed by shadows and dust. The inventions rotted away, their purpose forgotten. Only the bulb remained, hanging like a guardian of secrets. Who was the masked figure? No one truly knew who, or what, was behind the mask. The figure moved with slow, unnatural grace, as if puppeteered by something beyond human will. The mask hid emotions, identity, and purpose. It was a blank slate, an empty vessel waiting for meaning. The gloved hand that tapped the shoulder was mechanical but elegant, every movement calculated. It wasn't just signaling the pulse in the room, it was part of a ritual, an ancient call and response woven into the fabric of the place. Some believed the figure was the inventor himself, trapped between dimensions, his body caught in an endless loop of signaling warnings to no one. Others whispered that it was a guardian, something created by the inventor's machines, sentient and aware but bound to the room. The strange phenomenon of the pulse. As the figure's hand tapped rhythmically, the room itself seemed to respond. The pulse wasn't just a sound, it was a physical sensation that filled the air, vibrating through the wooden floor and walls. The bulb swayed and flickered in time, shadows danced and stretched as if alive. The pulse represented a heartbeat, not a human heartbeat, but something else. A signal sent through the very molecules of the air, a frequency meant to be heard by unseen entities. Some who studied the video noted the pulse matched an unusual pattern, a code hidden beneath layers of sound. It was a call out to something beyond, a signal sent to anyone or anything listening. The burst of darkness. The sudden explosion of the bulb's light marked the climax of the ritual. Sparks scattered, the fragile barrier between light and dark shattered. The room was consumed in blackness, swallowing the figure and the camera's view alike. The silence that followed was deeper, heavier. It was as if the room itself was holding its breath. For a moment, nothing moved. Then the video ended, leaving viewers with a haunting question: what was waiting beyond the darkness? The aftermath. What happens next? No one could say. The video existed in a liminal space between reality and the unknown. Some said the figure would reappear, repeating the ritual until the signal was answered. Others believed the darkness was an entrance to another realm, and once the bulb exploded, the figure was lost, or perhaps freed. What was certain was that the video had a strange effect on those who watched it. A lingering sense of unease, a tugging curiosity that pulled viewers back again and again, hoping to decode the message hidden in the silent tapping and flickering light. A final thought. In a world drowning in noise and endless images, this video was a moment of silence, unsettling, cryptic, and beautiful in its mystery. It reminded us that sometimes the most profound stories aren't told in words or action, but in the spaces between. If you want, I can help turn this into a script, add dialogue, or create visuals to accompany it. Would you like that?